Greetings and salutations to every one of you fluffy, beautiful, and non-fluffy, also equally beautiful listeners. This is the second time I've started this episode because I really flubbed the intro on this, and I don't know why, because it's literally the easiest intro you could ever do. But hey, we're here, and guess what? It's a Monday. I gotta do this again. It's a very obscure reference, if I'm being honest. That It's a Monday comes from Olan Rogers, if any of you are aware of who that is. He is a storyteller, YouTuber, / animator, also the creator of Final Space, the cartoon, and Godspeed, among others. But yeah, one of my favorite videos that he does ever is called A Ghost in the Stalls. So I can link that in the description if you want to take a listen. It's one of the funniest public interaction stories I've ever heard in my life, and I still go back to it from time to time just to listen to it because this man is absolutely chaotic and he does not stop. He's got a lot of stories of similar caliber, but the premise of the story and where It's a Monday comes from is he is sitting in a Target bathroom playing on his phone, and he hears someone else come in the bathroom because he's all alone in there. Like, Olan is all alone in this bathroom, doing his business, as he says. And someone else comes in the bathroom and gets in the stall right next to him, which is kind of an indicator that this other person who came in is unaware that there's anybody else in the bathroom. I've been in the situation a couple times in public bathrooms where you check. Now, I don't know if this is code everywhere when it comes to public bathrooms, but when it comes to bathroom etiquette, okay, side note, when it comes to bathroom etiquette, you check the stalls. You check like the doors, you give them a little push, you take like a small peek underneath just to see which ones are being used at that moment. And you don't want to take the stall that's right next to somebody because that's considered uncouth or unorthodox. Whales. Anyway. And I don't know why. It just seems to be like a thing that, especially when it comes to male-born individuals or those who identify as male, to take the stall that is like 1 or 2 stalls away from somebody else. It's the same with urinals. If you have the hardware to use a urinal, you take the urinal that is either the furthest from the door when you're alone in there, or if there's somebody using one already, you take one that's like, you got to leave one space in between, one urinal in between you two, or maybe 2 or 3 depending on the situation. I find it especially difficult in rest stop bathrooms, where you have like urinals and stalls lined up like camp, right? And makes it a little easier to maneuver the correct urinal or stall to use because, okay, you have options at that point. But yeah, I find it interesting how that is the bathroom etiquette. So I don't know if that's universal. I don't know if it's a thing everywhere or if it's just like a USA thing. But yeah, generally speaking, for bathroom etiquette, you want to keep one stall or one urinal in between you and someone else. Anyway, so back to the story. So Olan is in this Target bathroom, and someone else comes in, gets in the stall next to him, which is already unorthodox. But again, that is an indicator that this person did not know that he was in there. So he uses it to his advantage. I'm not going to spoil the story for you because you got to go watch it. But yeah, let's just say he wreaks some havoc during this little encounter. So I'll let you watch it in the description. It is probably one of the funniest stories I've ever heard. Anyway, so that's my little plug for Monday. It's a Monday. I gotta do it one more time. I got nothing going on. I'm chalk free. I'm Scotch tape. I'm so dang clear of anything. which is not true. I did work today, but we'll get to that. Anyway, so it was a decent weekend. Kind of lazy, if I'm being honest. I didn't really do much. Like Saturday, I did almost nothing. It was nice. I got to experience just relaxing and catching up on some YouTube videos and some things around the house. So I cannot dispute that ever. Getting a restful weekend like that. But on the eve of that Saturday, I got to go enjoy some fun times with some furry friends. I went to a little meetup in the neighboring city of where I live, and we had a nice little celebration. It was actually the 1 year anniversary since this little meetup started, so I got to see a bunch of friends. I got to enjoy the company of those whom I am closest with, friend wise, and we got to enjoy some drinks and some dancing. And I got to fursuit, and it was a lot of fun. So we took our group picture, and there was probably like 50 people there or something. It was a lot. But yeah, I also want to mention that my choice of wardrobe that night wasn't just the fursuit. I partialed my fursuit, and I wore my pet suit for the little event. And to those of you who don't know, a pet suit is basically a skin tight, like a second skin type of thing with a design on it. And mine is the fox design. It is red and white, so it goes with my colors. And I paired it with a nice pair of galactic shorts, so I was very happy with my wardrobe choice. And I was a little concerned because I was like, is it going to be too cold? I don't know. It might be a little chilly, but it wasn't. It was actually quite nice. And a lot of people seem to like the suit, so I'll take it. But yeah, I enjoyed myself. I got to see all the friends and enjoy the dancing and enjoy the festivities. It went well into the evening. Oh gosh, it was probably I think it was 2:30 in the morning when I finally left the place. So I can't say that I didn't have a good time. I did. I absolutely did. So yeah, congrats 1 year to this fur meet. I'm hoping that it continues on month to month. So until next time, shout out to Kirk and Tara for making it a possibility. So yeah, really enjoyed that. Other than the bar meetup, I got to enjoy sleeping in quite a bit. It was nice, and had a friend come up from the Southern Ohio area, so we got to spend some time together, and we as per usual, the one of the things that I like to do when I get guests who come over with fursuits is I do a photo shoot. So we got to enjoy some photos and got to make some new fluffy content for this person, and they got some really cute photos and videos. So I'm very, very happy how that turned out. Other than that, I with this person visiting, one of the things that we did, which I am not ashamed of at all, and I was very glad to see that I still have it in me, is we went and got Italian for dinner. Now, there is a small, mom and pop, Italian type place nearby where I live, and it's very good. Oh my gosh, they have the best, breadsticks, calamari, the best fettuccine alfredo with chicken. Ooh, so let me just run it down for you, okay? What I ended up eating most of. So we got the breadsticks, which was fantastic. That was our starter. And then, let's see, I had some jambalaya soup, which was beautiful, tasty, very tangy. And I'm not really one to eat much jambalaya, but that was a real treat, I have to say. And then, let's see, after that, they brought us some rolls, some dinner rolls, which was very nice. And yeah, I ate probably, I think they gave us 12 breadsticks. I'm pretty sure I ate 7 of them. There was a lot. And along with the jambalaya, And then after that, I had the main course, which was the Um, the fettuccine Alfredo chicken, which I love Alfredo, by the way. To any of you out there who are Alfredo haters, I don't understand you. So I'm sorry. But it was a really good combination with everything. And my friend who I was with uh, was like, I don't know how you're able to stuff all this. This is a lot of food. I'm like, yeah, it is. And the honest truth is, because I love to eat, and also I hadn't really eaten much earlier in the day anyway, so it's okay. I was able to pull it off. But I'm glad to see that I still have the drive to continue to eat as much as I would like, and I didn't feel sick afterwards. I'm very happy about that, because normally when I eat in that volume, I tend to feel kind of sick, and that's been happening more and more lately. So maybe it's just age catching up with me. I don't know. I'm trying to enjoy myself as much as possible before things start to slow down, because I know it's coming, and I'm trying to enjoy myself, and not trying to gorge, not trying to be gluttonous or anything like that. But it's good to know that I can still put it away and not have a problem. So I can tell you, back in college, I was a machine. I could put away, oh boy, I could probably put away an entire pizza, like, a full on, like, half or full sub from, Subway, and what else? I could eat probably a whole Thanksgiving dinner myself if I wanted to. That's how much I ate in college. And let's just say that it really took its toll, because in college I ended up gaining, oh gosh, it was somewhere around like 50 pounds. It was a lot. And I'm not ashamed to say, I was over 300 pounds when I was a sophomore in college. And then junior and senior year of college, I lost roughly 75 pounds. So ever since then, I've just kind of tapered, and I've been doing pretty good in that regard. So I'm happy about that. But yeah, so I'm happy to know that season of my life is over now. I did not enjoy being over 300 pounds. It was not becoming. It was very difficult to do things, and I uh, I was just in misery a lot of the time. So I just took it upon myself to take the next year and a half of school, and I lost a bunch of weight. So this, by the way, I should mention, this is right before COVID, so it was kind of incentive to get it done. Not that I knew that was going to happen, but nobody did. But like, I was like, I'm in my last couple years of school. I just need to take this off. Like, it's about that time. So that was a real thing that I'm still very proud of to this day. So anyway, I wrote down a whole bunch of, like, I wrote down like a fruit salad of just words to talk about, because I'm never really prepared whenever I do these things. I just kind of like wing it and see what happens. But one of the things I want to talk about is oftentimes, and this past week I definitely showed that, oftentimes I tend to put on something at work. Like, maybe I'll put on like one of my favorite albums, music album. Maybe I'll put on a TV show and just kind of binge it while I'm there, because I'm actively doing things at work. I'm like moving around. I'm up and down a lot. But at the times when it's like really administrative stuff that's really boring, I'll put on like The Office in the background, or I'll put on something kind of mindless, just as background noise, and maybe a podcast. Who knows? But this past week, I went back to listening to and somewhat watching Bluey at work. And of course, every single person who walked by me was like, what are you watching? And I was like, well, it's Bluey. And they're like, oh, is it that dog show? Is it that cartoon dog show? It's like, yeah, it is. So my coworkers think I'm weird for watching it. I'm pretty sure I'm the only person at my workplace who watches Bluey actively, even while at work. The only exception to that would be one of my older coworkers who has grandchildren, and he watches the show with his grandkids. So I guess that counts, even though he's not actively doing it himself. I'm going to count it either way because he's seen it and he understands what it is. So we'll go with that. But um, getting to the, uh, the episode that struck me, because it didn't strike me before, was the Mother's Day episode. Now, to any of you who are not familiar with Bluey, may not be able to track it, but I will do my best to explain. The Mother's Day episode is where Bluey and Bingo put on a little show for Chili, Mom. And, like, they're all like, oh, happy Mother's Day. We have something special for you. And they decided to act out the scene where Bandit and Chili meet for the first time. And I thought it was really cute that they were like, what's your non-mom name? What's your non-dad name? Chili, Bandit. They had to tell him. So, and I remember those days. Like, I remember growing up and, like, having to learn my parents were actually not named mom and dad. They actually had names, right? So it's always funny when you're a young kid, like 4 or 5 years old, and you're just you're figuring out how, like, concepts and how names and things work. And you're like, your own name. You say your own name a lot when you're that age. But then you come to realize that your parents or whomever raised you also has names. And you start to, like, separate the two. You separate the title, that is mom, dad, aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa, whatever, and realize that they have names. So, yeah. It brought me back to, like, oh yeah, I don't really remember the pinpointed moment where I discovered that my parents had names, like actual adult human names, but I remember being very surprised by the fact that they actually had names. So I remember hearing my mom talk on the phone a lot, and she would, like, make calls to businesses and, like, doctor's appointments and whatever, and then she would say her name and then spell it out. So that's I like to think that's how I learned my mom's name. Like, I learned it by association. Like, every time she said my name is, and then she would say her name to the phone, and then she would spell it out. So in a way, it kind of taught me how to spell and also conceptualize the concept. And, well, conceptualize is that's a redundancy is what I'm looking for. All over the place. But yeah, I think that's how I learned it. And yeah, it's just I just kind of brought me back to that moment of learning, oh, this is actually a thing. Anyway, back to the Bluey episode. So Bingo and Bluey are putting on this little show, and I mean, it kind of works because Bluey plays Bandit, she's blue, and then Bingo plays Chili, she's red or orange, right? So it gets to the point in this little play story where Chili and Bandit are, like, they've met, they're married, and Bingo puts a balloon underneath of her sweatshirt that she's wearing to signify that, Chili's pregnant, right? Like, oh, look, we have a baby on the way, and we shall name her Bluey, that whole cute little thing. But then, this is where it hit me. I did not pick this up before, and I know that this is what this episode was trying to do. As Bingo is talking, like, I'm pregnant, I have a baby on the way, and all this, the balloon pops. And then Bingo gets all sad. But then the episode cuts to Chili and Bandit, like, looking very serious. And then, like, they just, like, reach and then grab each other's hands. And mind you, I'm at work watching this, right? During that moment when they, like, grabbed each other's hands, I was like, oh, like, I got shell shocked at work with this episode, and I was like, there's no way that they did it like that, and they did. So, some of you may be like, what are you talking about? So what? A balloon popped. Well, if you're like me and you're slow to pick up on some things sometimes, that balloon popping was signifying loss. Seems to me like, and I'm pretty sure this is 100% what it is. The balloon popping was a loss of Chilean Bandit's first child. That's why they looked so serious, and that's why they looked so just distraught, you know. Um, I don't know. They didn't really go into it after that. I don't know if they ever mentioned it again, but that little moment, it just was like, wow, I never realized that. Like I never I've seen that episode many times, and it was like this is like my third or fourth time running through that episode, and I just now picked up on it. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it's because I wasn't paying much attention before. I don't know what it was, but I didn't catch that. But until now, so I wanted to cry at work. Had to hold it together, like, don't cry at work, don't cry at work, please. And sure enough, I'm watching this episode about a very serious topic about what actually happened to Chilean Bandit before Bluey. So uh, that one really got me. And I looked it up later, and yeah, there were a lot of video analyses and like written posts online about how this was actually a miscarriage situation. And I was like, oh gosh, I never would have thought. But Bluey is very good at dealing with real life, real world, and honest situations that happen to people in real life. Like, talking about, like, literally one of the next episodes is about evolution and creation. So yeah, they're not afraid to touch certain subjects, right? And then it goes on to, well, I'll just basically, the end of the episode is Bingo being upset. Like, she's upset that the balloon popped and she feels like she can't do anything right. And then Bluey encourages her. And then they dress real Bandit up as a baby to signify Bluey. So that actually, the role reversal I thought was pretty genius of how they did that. So yeah, that was one of my highlights this past week at work. I do want to talk about one thing that happened today. Speaking of work, okay. So, I was, to those of you who have probably are who are probably new, and who don't know, I work in a warehouse. So there's a lot of just, tedious ins and outs every single day, and one of those things is having to deal with a large line of products. So I handle a certain section of that product, and one of my lovely coworkers, who was kind enough to lend a hand, she and I were just chatting. Like, we were just, opening boxes, chatting, and, we were just kind of shooting the bull and just, making light and just chatting, as you do. And we got to talking about relationships and stuff, and I'm not going to get too deep into it, but we talked about some of our past relationships, and romantic ones, I should say, and like how that translates to us today versus back then, et cetera, et cetera. Not really the point of the story, but one of the things that she talked about was she is okay with being a loser. She said this. She was like, I'm just a loser, and I'm okay with that. And I was like, oh, I have a song for you. So, what's the first thing that I do? I was a little hesitant at first, but I knew she would love it because she has a very wicked sense of humor, right? I pull up Has Been Hotel, Loser Baby, and I start blasting it on my speaker, and I'm showing her the video too of Husk and Angel Dust singing, and thankfully it's the lyric video so she could read along, but she starts listening to it and she's laughing and she's like, oh my gosh, what is this song? I love it. We just started, we're having a great time just like jamming out to Loser Baby, and it was fantastic. She was like, "This is so me. I love this." And like, "What is this show?" And I got to tell her about it. And like, "Hey, if you ever want to watch a good adult cartoon, check out Has Been Hotel." And she was like, "Okay, I'll probably do that." I doubt she will. She might not do it, but like, honestly, I'm glad that we had that moment together of like, "Hey, you're a loser just like me, and that's okay." We got we got to bond over that. So I'm really happy about that. She's one of the last people I expected would enjoy that kind of thing or enjoy that song. But since she brought it up and she was kind of tying herself to the whole meaning of like, hey, it's okay to be, it's okay to think of yourself less. It's okay to, embrace your flaws, I think is what that song is really talking about. Because oftentimes when we think of being a loser, we think, oh, that person just don't got it together. But in this case, it's okay if you don't have it together, is what that song is really teaching. Like, it's okay to not have it all together. It's okay to embrace your flaws. It's okay to be yourself. And you're going to screw up. You're going to fall. You're going to, you might fail a lot of times. But the fact is, you're still you. And you're still here. And you're still somehow living, standing, and functioning in this crazy thing we call life. So I think that really resonated with her. I'm very happy that I got to share that with her. Definitely the highlight of my day. I will be thinking about that probably for the next few months of like, oh man, I'm glad she loved that song and we got to bond over it. So yeah, Has Been Hotel bringing people together once again. So good job. good job, A24 and Busy. Thanks for once again, making it a meaningful series. Whew. So that was like the biggest highlight of today. Other than that, nothing really happened today. It was just the usual in and out, ding dong, here's this, and, problems and fires, and deal with this and that, and then, leave at a reasonable time. Also, I have to say, car naps just hit different. I like to take a nap on my lunch break, and I sit in my car, recline the seat, fall asleep for about 10 minutes, and then I go back into work. So it's really refreshing. I highly encourage you to, if you work a type of job that allows you to have some privacy, maybe retreat to your vehicle or a room or something, just take a moment, 5-10 minutes, close your eyes. You might fall asleep, doze off, just meditate and appreciate where you are. You're going to come back way more refreshed for it. So yeah, car naps hit different. What else do I want to talk about here? Got my little notes here. Okay. So one of the things that my friend over this weekend told me was, I'm gonna take it as a huge compliment. By the way, he said that every time he sees anything that is related to the Beatles or anything Beatles, or like he hears a song by the Beatles, whatever, he thinks of me. And I'm like, oh, that makes me so happy. And it really touched my heart because, as all of you know, it is my favorite band of all time. The Beatles are, in my top. So, and they always will be. They have been ever since I was probably 9-10 years old, and they continue to be to this day. So, yeah. But the tangent of that is not just a sweet compliment from this friend, but I was thinking about this series of videos on YouTube called You Can't Unhear This. And if I remember, I will link it in the description. It is a selection of videos from a channel called You Can't Unhear This. And it talks about like different variations of different Beatles songs that were released. Like there's like hidden messages. He kind of goes into like the hidden messages thing that Conspiracy was talking about back in the day. Like the subliminal like nuggets that you find in Beatles songs and etc. And it it got me to thinking, man, I haven't seen a video from that channel in a long time. I wonder if I should watch one when I get home, And sure enough, I get home and I log on to YouTube and I look at the front page, and right there is a video from the channel You Can't Unhear This that I had not seen. So it led me to wonder, is YouTube reading my thoughts? Now, I know a lot of you might be like, oh, well, that's just crowdsourcing. But here's the thing. I didn't search it. I didn't say anything. I did nothing, absolutely nothing to encourage this suggestion to pop up other than think about it. And there it is. Coincidence? Maybe. But is YouTube reading my thoughts? Is this a thing that they have developed? Excuse me, that, maybe I'm not familiar with? But yeah, I thought that was a little weird. After this, I'll probably be watching that new video. But yeah, I just thought it caught me off guard a little bit. So, YouTube, please stop reading my thoughts. If you knew what I really thought about you, you would have me off of your platform a long time ago. So, yeah. Let's see. The next thing I wrote down was Pumba the Puma. Oh, okay. It was the Okay, so some of you may be familiar with Pumba, not the warthog from The Lion King. Pumba is I want to say he's a Puma lynx mix, and he appears in a lot of YouTube shorts. He's a domesticated Puma lynx, I believe, from, I don't know where these people are from, but yeah, he lives in a house. He's a wild Puma in a house that was adopted by these people who just named him Pumba. And I kid you not, if you haven't seen Pumba the Puma, every single short, every video, everything that they post about this cat is the cat just going like just hissing and growling at the camera and the person holding the camera. And this thing is domesticated, mind you. It's got a collar on, right? And this every single video of this thing is this cat just like right? And like just growling and like get away from me energy, like I'm gonna take your face off energy. Ugh. And I'm like, how can you okay, I may have a bit of a hot take about this, but I really don't know how I feel about people domesticating wild animals. Now, if you can do it, great, good for you. As long as you take care of the animal and you can, give it plenty of nutrition, make sure that it gets out enough, that kind of thing, you can absolutely domesticate a wild animal. Also, as long as it's legal, okay? Because there are a lot of states and a lot of countries that don't allow you to do this, right? But I digress. I'm kind of torn on this whole issue of should you domesticate wild animals? Part of me says yes, it's okay, and another part of me is like absolutely not. They need to be in the wild. They need to be in their environment so that they can grow and thrive and all this other stuff. So I'm divided. Like, yeah, you can do that, but at the same time, is it really the best thing for the animal, right? So I'm going to say both and neither on that. That's where I sit. But anyway. But this example of this Pumba, right? Just like hissing, growling, like scratching at the camera, like just every single time that this person walks up to it with a phone or a camera and it just starts doing that, I'm like, maybe you shouldn't have that in your house. Because if this is how it's going to treat you, this is going to be really bad for you later, right? I've heard, and you all know this, there are many horror stories of people who have domesticated some animal and it ended up like attacking them or injuring them quite badly or something like that. I was talking to somebody today about that, as a matter of fact. The guy who went and lived with bears, like wild black bears or something, for most of his life, like half of his life, and then he ended up getting mauled. I don't remember the guy's name, but that was like the last thing that anybody ever saw of him was like a video of him getting mauled, which is awful. Do not look that up, please. But and then the Siegfried and Roy thing, when one of their tigers, they were showmen, by the way, they had tigers, and one of the tigers like turned on, I don't know who it was, I don't know which one of them it was, but one of them got attacked real bad by one of the tigers, right? And here's the thing. When it comes to domesticating animals, wild animals, and training them, for shows, which I don't fully agree with, but any any one, use, I guess, or any one purpose of having a wild animal, it doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't really matter the training that you give it. It's still a wild animal, right? It's still naturally this species of animal, right? Now, to others' credit, like for example, Albie Azul, who is a domesticator of foxes, I think that's okay because Azrael the fox gets plenty of outdoor time, gets plenty of love, care, and nutrition, and yeah, like that I can understand because like if you have a giant pen in the back of your house where the fox can get plenty of nature and you are, yeah, that's as a pet. I guess foxes, in a sense, can be an exception because they are of the vulpine class, so they're kind of like dogs. Still wild animals, nonetheless, but they're more dog-like. But if we're talking like servals, pumbas, tigers, gosh, maybe even I saw somebody who had a kangaroo one time. Somebody else who had a raccoon, which is a slippery slope because those things can be kind of rabid. So, this is it's just something that I'm divided on. Is my whole point. So, but I just thought it was funny watching watching this puma just absolutely going fully activated whenever somebody would come near him. So if you're going to domesticate animals, wild animals, take the proper precautions. Be careful, be very careful with what you know what you're getting yourself into, and make sure that the animal is not being used for any malicious or ill intent, right? So, yeah, that's my little spiel. I just thought it was interesting, and I have to say, it is rather entertaining to scroll through these shorts and videos and just watching this cat over and over, just like, get away, that energy. So, I will give it, it is entertaining. So, anyway. So I do want to address something that is a little more on the serious side. So, since the last podcast, I know that there have been some changes as of late in our world, and one of them, and I'm sorry I have to bring this up, but I want to make this an encouraging message and not a discouraging one. Ever since the last podcast, we now have a new president. And I'm not going to go too far into it because that would not be very wise. I'm not here to talk anything, political related. I'm not here to, ruffle any feathers or convince anybody else against their will or anything like that. That's not my goal. I have no dog in the race, shall we say. So I want to take this situation that we find ourselves in, and say it carefully, but also say it with full honesty, that we can still be positive in this situation. And yes, I agree. It is a very, very difficult thing to accept. It's a very hard thing to have happen. Like, none of us saw it coming. If I'm being completely honest, none of us saw this coming. One, I'm glad that it's over, so that does give a sense of relief, but at the same time, the result, not ideal, understandably so, okay? And that's all I'll say about it. But I want to use that and just take a moment to read something that I read today, actually, on my way home. Well, actually, I should say when I got home, I read this. And it really got me thinking, and it really did make me feel a lot better about the situation. But there is a quote that, and as many of you know, I follow a lot of Stoic philosophy. You know, Marcus Aurelius, Roman Emperor, and Meditations, Epictetus, and Seneca. Those are the top three that I read in Stoic philosophy the most. But interestingly, given the state of our world and our country right now, well, the USA, that is, it was so funny how this quote just popped up today while I was thinking about it. This comes from Marcus Aurelius in his Meditations book, once again, and he said, quote, "Look at the past, empire succeeding empire, and from that, extrapolate the future. The same thing happens. No escape from the rhythm of events, which is why observing life for 40 years is as good as observing it from 1,000 years. Would you really see anything new?" I'm going to read that one more time. Marcus says, look at the past. Okay. Empire succeeds empire. Okay. And from that, extrapolate the future, meaning you can look at the past and you can know what to expect, pull information from the past, and then realize that this is what the future holds as well. It's the same thing. No escape from the rhythm of events, which is why observing life for 40 years is as good as observing it from 1,000 years. Would you really see anything new? That right there, I think, is a defining characteristic of how time goes on. We see things that happen just like this every 4 years, every decade, every 20 years, every 30, and so on and so forth. We've seen really, really bad leaders in our time. We have seen really unfortunate events happen. We, as he said, empire to empire, the succession of change in empire, and in this case, the empire being our governments, right? Apply that to today's standards of government. It's the same over and over and over. The pendulum swings back and forth and back and forth. It goes from one side, then the other, then it stops in the middle sometimes, and sometimes it may swing way too far to one side. Sometimes it may jet all the way back way too far to the other side, and sometimes it'll just get stuck and lodged right in the middle. And this is how history goes. There's nothing new about it. I think it's in the book of Ecclesiastes. King Solomon talks about. Actually, I have it right here. I can pull it right up. Actually, let me see. Yeah, here it is. Ecclesiastes 1:9. This is King Solomon talking. What has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. Isn't that interesting? There's nothing new under the sun? What we've seen before will happen again. And what has been done will happen again, is what he's saying. So, what is this? What are we to think about this? I mean, sure, we want change. We want progress. We want these things to happen. And it does. Change and progress happens every day. And change in the opposite way. And regression happens also. But all that to consider, the big picture that we have is that everything changes. Yes. But let's not be surprised that we're seeing the same things over and over and over again. Let's not be surprised that these things are happening to us because we've seen them before. They happen on their own and they don't need our help, right? So, what's my point? Am I saying that we shouldn't care? No, we absolutely should care. We should care who our leaders are. We have that power to decide who that leader is. We can decide what we think about something and how we can work to change it or make it better or keep something from being worse. We have this power. We can make it happen or not happen if we want to. As much power as we have to, make that into a reality. But as Marcus and as King Solomon said, there's nothing new. So let's take what we already know, and that is, seeing the past and putting it on a future lens and realizing that there really is nothing new, and let's make it better. Let's realize that these things don't just change on their own. We have to help be that change. We have to help be that miracle. We have to help make things much more than what they used to be, right? It's the old additive of those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. So let's not be repeaters, We can flip the script, we can change, what we need to, and we can make it happen as much as we want. And as difficult as that may seem, it's really not that impossible, I mean, if you look, prime examples of these horrible things that have happened in history and why we don't have certain laws anymore, why we don't do certain practices anymore, and why we don't, maybe say certain words or act certain ways anymore toward others especially, it's because one or two or a group of people came forward and said, hey, this is not right, and we need to change this. So maybe that's our goal now. Despite what's going on, despite this new administration that unfortunately once again is moving in to this country, we can still be that change. We can still make a difference. We don't have to let it get to us. We don't have to sit around and just watch idly and just let things happen as they come and do nothing. We can make things different. We can be the better part of what's about to happen, And in this case, we've already been through 4 years of this. We've seen what this administration is capable of. Who knows where it's going to go from here? But that doesn't mean that we need to be helpless. That doesn't mean that we need to just lay down, keel over, and then stop and just put up our hands and surrender. No, we can make a difference. So that is what I want to encourage you all today with, is that we don't have to be, stuck. We don't have to feel like we're stuck. And yeah, it's depressing. It's sad. It's unfortunate. It's shocking. It's all these things, all of the above. But it doesn't stop there, nor should it. So let's not let it stump us. We're still here, and we can do it. We don't have to stick where we are. So I hope that does help somebody out there, It doesn't have to be this way, We have so much more to go ahead with. We have so much more to create. We have so much more purpose to fulfill. And it is my hope that you'll join me in that we can make things better despite our circumstances. It's not our circumstances that need to change. It's us that needs to change. And on that note, I leave it there. And I want to thank you all for listening. And in the correct transition, I believe, from the word of encouragement, I just want to encourage you, as I do at the end of every podcast, remember to always be you, be yourself. Don't let anybody ever tell you who you can and can't be or what you should and shouldn't do. You have that capability. You can be whatever you set your mind to be. You have a purpose to fulfill. There has never, ever been anyone like you in the past. There will never be anyone like you in the future. And there is no one like you right now. Only you can do the things the way that you can best. And everybody in this world, the world needs you. They need you. They don't need anybody else. They don't need you to change for any reason for anybody else. They need you to be the one to bring that. So I encourage that to you as well. And in the same way, remember the Latin phrase, sic parvis magna, greatness from small beginnings. Live out your greatness from small beginnings. Remember where you came from, where you started, the people who brought you up from the beginning, and those who continue to stand by you to this day. they're there for you, and you can be there for others too. Your journey is not over. You have a purpose to fulfill, and you have so much more in this life waiting for you. Anytime you lack motivation or lack that drive, sometimes it helps to look back on your roots and where you came from. Never forget them, and maybe you'll find something there. Maybe you'll find your original drive or your original purpose from the beginning. So, once again, I want to thank you all for listening. Thank you again for your continued support, love, unyielding encouragement to me, and every single thing that you do to make my dream come true every single day. I can't thank you enough. And until next time, this is Samson Kitty Fox saying bye. Bye-bye. I love you all so much.